Can you just explain what happened with that viral moment, how you ended up in that position where you were even speaking at just walk us through that.
Yes. That was a life-changing moment. So I went there and gave the speech, and I feel like I did my duty. You know, I'm a resident.
But what was going on? Why did you go there in the first place?
Yeah, it's right after 2020 election, and you see that what's the burnings and then the cheating, and it's just I just feel like America is ending, and I just feel like I need to do something, and so I volunteered to go there and give a 1 minute comment, and by then my son was long gone from the public school, but they told me it doesn't matter, anyone can go. I thought parents,
right?
But, I'm ex-parents,
right?
So I went, and so I did not expect much. I was very nervous. It was first time, but I was glad that there was a mask. So yeah, so I quickly gave that speech and then left because I took time out from work. I have to go back to my work. And so I thought that's it. And then got phone calls. And that really, really surprised me. And eventually I got phone calls from Fox, from Hannity show. And I believe that was a very crucial moment. I could just said, no, I can't do that. That's too scary. And then I would just have like a 1 minute, 5 minutes fame, because my video was played everywhere. Like I listened to Charlie Kirk every day, and he played my video, and it's just like everywhere. And but I did not have that much time to really decide. I know once I said yes, my privacy is gone. I will be like a public figure.
Right.
And am I ready for that? I have no idea. I really was so scared. And I think it's just something about just say yes.
Yeah.
So I did. And never speak publicly, and all of a sudden found myself in TV and live TV. That was terrifying.
I know.
I don't know. I look just stupid. But I did say out a few things that make sense, I think. And I refused to watch myself. My husband watched it first, and he said, "You did okay." I said, "Oh my God, I can't see. I can't watch myself." And then I read the comment on the YouTube channel, and I was really, really assured. A lot of majority. There's like thousands of comments, and most of the majority of them said, "Thank you so much for speaking out." And I just realized, yes, there is a voice that's needed to have someone like me who experienced the Cultural Revolution and talk about that the same Cultural Revolution happening here. History is repeating. So. Since then, I never stopped.
What do you hope people take from your newest book?
We did not even talk about this. The main theme is basically we are responsible for creating our greatest threat, and understand how and understand why. And I think that's the best way, because the enemy is not over there. The true enemy is right here. It is the enemy within. Just like Lincoln said something like, America can never be taken down by the external enemies, but by the enemy within. And that is the enemy within is the cultural Marxism, American communism. They have different names, we call them different things, but it is them who are the threat to our republic.
But isn't in your book, isn't some of it too just the elites that kind of sold out the country as well in the attempt to make money? So how do you
I covered that, but it's the same thing that we as citizens need to understand what happened, and then we do have a voice. We do have a voice and in stopping this. And I just don't believe that there's nothing we can do. I think we can do something. And I'm the proof. I mean, just a few years ago, I was so shy. Yeah, I was just one of the typical Asian immigrants, very shy, never participate in politics. And yet I made a difference. I did.
Yeah.
And my book had really wake up a lot of people. I hope my second book will do the same. So we all can make a difference. We can demand our political leaders to understand that what they're doing is either help our republic or not. So we do have a role to play. And that's the reason we are a constitutional republic. We have a role to play, and we can never give that up. If you give that up, you give up your liberty.
Yes.
That's what it is. You just let the government do whatever.
The voices like yours are so important because it is the air we've always breathed is liberty. And I do see the younger and younger generations, when they get polled on things like free speech and privacy, they do not care. They don't really believe in free speech. They don't really think privacy is important. And these were things that I was raised to really respect and revere. And I'm not sure that we're even doing that. So yes, what can the average person, the average citizen, how can they, what's a simple thing that they can do or start to do to
start with learning our own history, especially in the week of 250th anniversary. Really learn what this country is about. And I think that you cannot defend a country you don't love. And how do you love the country? You have to learn the history. And that's why I have been doing my little 250th anniversary tour. I just came back from Williamsburg, visiting a lot of the historical sites, and do my little posting on X. And I plan to go to Charlottesville this weekend, and also visiting the 3 important sites, Monticello and homes of James Madison and James Monroe. I think when we know more of our history, we're falling in love with it. And when we do that, we will have the determination to save this country and preserve our liberty.
I feel like that's kind of the opposite of what happened though with the young kids, is that they learned more, I'll put in quotes, about the history of America, and that's why they think that it's a colonized country based on, slavery. They had the 1619 Project. We've got they learned about the history of the indigenous, and all of this has actually fostered a deep hatred of their country.
It's because we do not have control of our educational system. And so that is so important to understand. So before we can take it back, we should start. We have been working on it, but before we can totally take it back, parents must play the role. Parents must be the educator. You can't trust your precious children to the Marxists. And so the parents must learn themselves and then pass it down to their children. And that's what I'm trying to do. And that's one of the few things I can do.
And what is your biggest optimistic feeling that you have right now?
I think that because I do travel around the world, not the world, the country, a lot of people and groups invited me to talk. And the more I talk to people, I just really realize that there's such a thing as a silent majority.
Yes. And
they are silent because they dare not to speak out. So all the noise we heard, and we feel like, the whole country were woke. And we feel like everyone will agree with these crazy Marxist ideologies, but it's not quite true.
Right.
But at the same time, we need to reach out to as many people as possible, and to really, really, at the same time, I say you cannot be silent.
Yes.
You have to understand we are really at a war, so we have to get as many people educated, and hopefully get more of them, motivated, and join the fight. And because it is still a minority that make the most noise, and make a lot of people feel like we lost our cause. I don't believe so.
Well, it's scary too, because you mentioned Charlie Kirk, and now it has escalated quite a bit in the past, even 3 years, where there's just seems to be overall a lot more political violence, and there's a much higher risk to speaking out. You have people protesting outside politicians' homes. You have Charlie Kirk being assassinated, and multiple assassination attempts on Trump. I think it was hard for me to convince the silent majority to speak out, because I would get a lot of people saying, I'm self-censoring, I can't say this, I agree, but I don't want to lose my job, which I'm completely sympathetic to. But now the barrier feels even higher to me.
I think it's lower. Actually, I think more people start to speak out, and because DEI, for one thing, the word DEI now become toxic. That to me is hope, right? We make it toxic. We make a lot of the things they use, CRT. No one talk about CRT because it become toxic. So that's because we push back. So, but they're not going to stop. They're going to come up with new ideas, and a new package of the same old ideas.
Right.
But we have to keep doing it. And I think they are retreating in many ways. And so there's a hope. There's absolute hope. And that's your job and my job, to red pill people rather than black pill.